Okay, in my presentation, I'm going to be talking about Spain's global empire declining. So, in the late 1520s and 1530s, explorers found gold north of Mexico, leading explorers to travel in search of wealth. So, the Spanish became very interested and started sending out expeditions to find this new source of wealth. And the Spanish started exploring New Mexico. Not everyone went, though, and the first to go on the expeditions were killed, leading to another expedition sent out, and more, and they just kept failing, and the Spanish were all getting murdered. However, there was one survivor that reported back to Spain. This survivor spent a year-ish making headquarters in Pueblo lands. Around 5 years later, they sent another expedition out to New Mexico. The Spanish began to move into the Pueblos lands and pushing their religion. In 1573, missionaries started making their settlement decisions instead of Spain's military. They learned their languages, and missionaries went out to the Pueblos and started converting them to Catholic. They began to rush their European ways, meaning the Spanish wanted the Pueblos to start dressing like them, speaking like them, cooking like them, and instead of women farming, the men would farm and the women would run the houses. However, the missionaries didn't think this was very necessary, so they ignored the rules that the Spanish were pushing onto the Pueblo people. The missionaries made missions out to with food, and they made markets for people in need. Fellow people that lived in New Mexico really liked this idea, and they began to help. In 1518, a wealthy miner named Juan de Ontier had about 500 soldiers in the Rio Grande, and they began to invade and break into Pueblo villages, stealing from them, demanding stuff from them, and all the Pueblos that resisted were killed and raped. So the Indians confronted the soldiers, killing 11 of them, and then the soldiers got very angry with this and killed 500 men and around 300 women and children. The Spanish were scared of the Indians and left the region. In 1610, they returned back to Santa Fe land owned by the Spanish elites. The Spanish let local Indians trade and barter with the Pueblos. The Pueblos, still scared of the military, hoped for protection from drought and disease and raging Apache and Navajo tribes. But when the issues didn't get any better, they lost hope, and then they moved back down to Florida and Mexico to just hold their ground. They were struggling to keep population under control with this drought and famine, and European powers began to push into North America, leaving Spain behind to fend for themselves.